And good evening on this Monday night here on the University of Dubuque campus. Time for the UD football show here. Head coach Stan Zwiefel joining us here in just a little bit. The Spartans with another victory under their belts as they took care of the Buena Vista Beavers this past Saturday for the home finale at Chalmers Field with a 26-15 or 26-12 victory. Spartans slow start getting out of the gates, but as the game progressed, did start to get their mojo a little bit and got that sixth win of the season, 5-2 now in the American Rivers Conference, and they close out the schedule coming up of the regular season with the Nebraska Westland Prairie Wolves as they'll take the trip to Lincoln, Nebraska, starting on Friday, and we'll have the game for you, of course, on Saturday, 1 o'clock kickoff, and 12:40 with the pregame show. So we'll talk about the contest coming up this Saturday, visit about the win over Buena Vista. Always nice to win that final home game. Leaves a good taste in your mouth, and especially for the seniors that played their final time on Chalmers Field. And so we'll talk about all that and more when Coach Zwiefel joins us for our first segment. This is the UD Football Show on 101.1 The River. Back after this. And we're back on the University of Dubuque Football Show, also streaming it by way of streaming video on Facebook Live from the University of Dubuque website, if you want to check it out and listen to Coach Zwiefel's comments as well that way. And, of course, we want to thank our sponsors, too, with the UD Football Show all season long, Conlin Construction, the University of Dubuque, and also the University of Dubuque Heritage Center. Thanks to them for helping us bring you the UD Football Show here on Monday nights. Well, Coach, 26-12 victory over the Buena Vista Beavers this past Saturday. As we mentioned, a bit of a rocky start to this one, but you started to play well on offense in the second half. Defense had an outstanding game once again for you.
I really thought that I was disappointed when I left the field on Saturday, Tim. It's the first week in those last 5 weeks that we haven't got a little bit better every Saturday, and that was one of our goals. As we talked about playing BV, BV was coming in not very highly rated football team. They had been on a little bit of a losing streak, and they had some guys nicked up, and we felt that we should have played better in the first half. And, Tim, we had a week off. Maybe that's part of, you always try to look for an explanation. Why didn't you play as well as you should? You introduce the seniors, and that's a long and tedious process, but you want to give those guys some recognition for the time they've put into the program. So I think it's very worthwhile. Plus, their parents are there, their brothers and sisters, all those kind of things. So that's kind of special for them. I don't know if it's special for the coaching staff when you're getting prepared. And then we looked like we were sleepwalking in the first quarter. And as I mentioned to you earlier in the halftime, there wasn't many pleasantries shared with our football team about what was going on in the game, and I thought we responded well to that. But it still was disappointing, Tim, about how we played in the first half. And I will tell you now, we've won 5 straight. And we were talking 5 weeks ago, we thought we might be able to get on a little bit of a run because of our schedule being front-loaded, but it's been a really testament to our players because we were 0-2 in the league when we started this run. Now we're 5-2, and we got a chance. I looked this back up. I know Paul's sitting across from us, our SID. I looked this back up. This will be our senior class's 3rd year out of 4 years we're playing for a conference championship in Game 10.
Outstanding.
I don't know if people know that. It's really it's a great accomplishment by that senior class. If we're fortunate enough to win on Saturday, our record in the last 5 years in the conference will be 29-10, which is 75% winning percentage. Only team we'd be behind is Wartburg, and that's because Wartburg has beaten us head-to-head competition. And so we feel like we're, as I told you a long time ago, Tim, we wanted to be in the conversation about being in a conference championship every year, and I think we're approaching that. And that's a result of our 5-game win streak, and I think it's a result. Somebody asked me a question after Saturday's game as I was leaving the field is, how were you able to get the team to bounce back? And I tell you this, Tim, I always tell our guys, and I know you've heard this from me a number of times, is, hey, you can only play the game that's playing in front of you, and you can't do anything about the ones you've lost, so you always try to make sure that your players play the complete season. And we talked tonight a little bit about, obviously we got a chance to tie for the championship if things fall right, and that's going to be difficult, Tim. And I tell our players it's going to be difficult for those things to happen. But what you want to be is to put yourself in a position that you can, if you can win a game and things work out, you're playing for a conference title in Game 10, and that's really important stuff. And maybe I should have talked more about that with BV, but I never talk about the finish till we get to the finish. And so when we talked about BV, I told them BV has given me personally as a coach as tough a competition as anybody in the league is, with the exception of Wartburg in the last 4 years. They seem to play well against us. They're prepared well against us. And we don't always seem to play our best game. Now, that's partly BV and partly on us. And Saturday, when that game started, Tim, I'm thinking in my mind, holy cow, here we go again. And at halftime, we were able to break out of it a little bit. I thought we played poorly offensively the whole game. We were able to rush the ball, but not able to get the points that I thought we should have got. So hopefully we'll rebound here now, Tim, on this week and go out at Nebraska Westland and play an outstanding game. But I do want to say, we were talking about it before, and Coach over there and us talking about, boy, you got to single out that Pacheco kid from BV. What a hell of a receiver he is. I mentioned to all of you in here that I would be voting for him for first-team All-American because that guy's a great player. And we did a pretty good job of neutralizing him.
8 catches, 84 yards. He didn't go off on him.
Get 160 yards and 2 touchdowns and all those kind of things. So I thought our defense had a great plan against those guys. I was hoping we were going to get a little bit more sacks, Tim. We probably didn't get as many sacks, but maybe that was based on BV's plan of getting them out of the pocket and getting 3-step and not letting them hold on to the ball, because they had given up a number of sacks in the previous games. But again, kudos to BV for coming and playing, and boy, they looked nicked up to me. Holy cow, they had more guys in crutches than they had guys suited up. And I talked to Coach a little bit, and it's been a tough year for them. They're playing a ton of freshmen and sophomores. They'll be better, but again, disappointed that we didn't play better, but extremely excited about putting the 5th game in a row in the win column. And no matter what anybody says, if you get a W, you got to be excited about what's going to happen. So happy about that.
Just breaking down the game a little bit here, you traded the scores, and then they took the lead right at the end of that first quarter. But then, that drive going into the locker room, and you got really one of your seniors involved, Adam Rothus, with that touchdown catch. That was
nice call by
nice
Coach
catch.
Clark on that. We ran a tight end screen, and that went in for a touchdown. That's Adam's first touchdown in his career. Excited as heck for him. His mom and dad were, they were up near the moon when I talked to him after the game in orbit up there, and they were really excited. And Adam played a great game run blocking. Tim, we ran one of our plays that we call 26 and 27 boss, kind of an outside-inside zone play aimed at the butt of the tight end. And Adam, we had 184 yards on that play on Saturday of our 200, whatever we had, 260, whatever we had. So that was directly responsible for Adam and our tackles doing a heck of a job on run blocking. But excited about that. And that got us back to some momentum. We're ahead. And it didn't feel like we were ahead, right? I mean, it didn't feel to anybody like we were ahead, but we were ahead at halftime. We were able to use that. And then our defense really kind of shut the door on them in the second half. Didn't allow them to get, I don't know if they crossed the 50 in the second half. I'm not quite positive of that statistic, but I know we did a heck of a job on that. Again, got another punt block, Tim. I told the guys, Dave, we get another one punt block, we'll set a national record, I'm afraid. So let's try to get that thing cured here a little bit.
That's a record you don't want.
Please don't. That's the one you don't want. An asterisk by your name on that one. But we missed an extra point. Come on now. Holy cow. So our kicking game did not perform very well in that game either. So there were a lot of things that we didn't do well, but what we did do well is we got to win.
I do want to talk about your third quarter drive. Really, the run game, Cordell Stillmunkus, you got him lathered up, and that was a good chunk of his 200-plus yards rushing, leading the league now. But that was sort of a statement drive that maybe propelled you over the top.
And I think we ran the same play 7 out of 9 plays on that thing, which I love. As you remember when I used to call them, I used to call 10 in a row if I could, my friend, because I love that stuff. Here it comes. Stop it. And we really were able to do that. And I thought it not only energized us, it demoralized them. Because if you can't stop what you know is coming, that's really difficult. And how about Cordell, freshman? who didn't really play that much in the first three or four games until Dwayne got nicked up. We're replacing a potential first-team All-American running back with a freshman. He's leading the league in rushing. And that's exciting stuff for us. And, Dwayne's had an injury-plagued senior year. We know that. Missed 6 of the 9 games, and portion of 7 and 8 he missed. And so Key Carr, our guy who we thought were going to be number 2 or number 3, he's missed 4 games with a hamstring pull. So we've got some really nice depth at that running back position, but Cordell really has been dynamic, to say the least. And what we really like about him, he's powerful enough to run over you, which he will do, but he's fast enough to run around you for a touchdown. He's got that unique ability of both those attributes that he has.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to point out, had problems with the kick game, but the kickoff return game, Savon Roberts returned a couple of nice ones that set up one of those touchdowns.
I told the staff a week ago the 2 biggest mistakes I made this year has nothing to do with coaching, but putting guys in positions, which, I tell you, Tim, all the time, I pride myself on looking at a guy, watching what he can do, and put him in a position to be successful. We've moved Kyle Marsh to offensive line the last 2 games, and that's made a difference in our run game. He's a starting defensive lineman we put in the left guard. And then Savon Roberts, who you saw for the first time, had been a defensive back for us because he came into fall camp a little bit late. And so we put him at defensive back because of how stacked we were at offensive running back at that time. Mm-hmm. But you saw some of his ability returning kicks. He's a freshman now, and he's going to be an outstanding running back. It kind of reminds me, if you go back a couple years when we had Dwayne and Mo together. Mo was junior and Dwayne's sophomore year. Dwayne was kind of the home run hitter. Mo would kind of run over you, that kind of guy. And Savon's going to have that same kind of ability for us as we move along. And, Cordell's going to be that home run hitter for us as we move along. So we were talking tonight offensively. Nellie and I were talking about the running back room and how good it can be and will be if you keep those guys around. And one of the things we've done here over the course of the 11 years, we've had Justin Spalding, and we've had Mo Harrington, we've had Dwayne Allen. I mean, we've had
outstanding
really good backs, and we feel like that's going to continue. So that's really exciting for us. It really is.
Coach, any final thoughts on the Buena Vista win before we take a break and talk about the final game on the season?
Yeah, I would say this. These seniors, as I told you, played for the conference championship 3 out of 4 times in the last game of the season, and they got a chance here if we win on Saturday to have won 28 football games in their 4 years, which is an average of 7 a year. And if we win on Saturday, in the last 5 years, Tim, in our 5 years, which those guys involved, we've won 37 games. That's a lot of football games. And one of the things that we thought about when we got is try to be consistent and be consistently in a situation where you're playing for a championship. And I've said this to other guys, our non-league conference schedule's been pretty darn difficult. You're not trying to play anybody that isn't a good football team. So some of those times those games are kind of padded, because of who you play in the non-conference schedule. Mm-hmm. That isn't for us. So we really feel like we're really doing some good things. But, hey, we got to finish this thing up on Saturday.
This is the UD Football Show with head football coach Stan Zwiefel on this Monday night from Coach's office. We will come back and we'll talk about the next game on the schedule for the Spartans as they travel to Lincoln, Nebraska to take on the Nebraska Wesleyan Prairie Wolves. We'll return with more of the UD Football Show right after this. And we're back on Monday night here. It is cold outside. I'm glad it wasn't game day today, Coach.
Good thing we got an indoor. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, no kidding. You might be using that a couple times this week.
The old man ain't going out in this weather, let me tell you that, my friend.
18 degrees as we're speaking right now. I think we're supposed to get down
Are you sure
in the
you're not
single
looking at
digits
Anchorage
tonight.
And you're looking at Anchorage or
I
what?
don't know. You got a few kids on the Anchorage roster.
You do.
That
It's just like being home for them, man.
Just like being home. They're saying, what's the big deal?
What's the big deal, exactly? Out in shirt sleeve weather.
Well, the good news is the long-term forecast shows pretty nice weather for this weekend.
Like getting on the beach again.
Yeah.
Going on the beach and do some sunbathing.
Lincoln, Nebraska is where you'll be. Nebraska Wesleyan, the opponent, as you take on the Prairie Wolves. This will be the third meeting for the Spartans and the Prairie Wolves. And, they're coming off a tough loss, losing to Luther.
That is a tough
missed
loss.
extra point, cost them 35-34. So there's that, but they're going to play their final home game of the regular season.
They've got, I think, the best quarterback in the conference. They threw it 62 times last week against Luther, so you guys better prepare to bring a sack lunch with you because this game could go a long, long, long time. We'll do our bit to try to keep it short and run the ball a little bit, but they'll do theirs to throw the ball. And I remember the first year we played him, I was so impressed with his ability to extend plays and great savvy and can, extend a play and run, but he's got a powerful, powerful arm, just powerful arm. Now, they're throwing it a lot, and they've almost abandoned the run. And what we've kind of noticed here in the last 2 weeks, they appear to let him be calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. They must give him a menu, and he makes the decision because he's doing a ton of checks at the LOS and trying to get some matchups, or if you give him soft coverage someplace. So that's an advantage for him because that guy started he's actually started 40 games for them, 30 games in the league since they've been in. He is outstanding, Tim. He's scary. I told him last year, I said, I think you're the best quarterback in the conference, and that nothing's changed my opinion of that. So he's going to present some problems for us. We're going to have a spy on him, which simply means one of your defensive players is assigned to the kid when he scrambles or extends a play, because he does do that. They've got about 4 or 5 receivers that are very similar to ours, with 20, 22, 24, 16, 18 catches. He spreads it around a lot. They'll be one-dimensional, Tim. I really think they're going to come out and try to chuck it most of the night or most of the day. So that gives you a little bit of advantage in preparation. I don't know if you can ever match that, you know what I'm saying, in practice. We'll give them good look from our guys in practice when we do some crossover this week. But he's an outstanding quarterback. And they have been on, I think, a 6-game losing streak, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. Tim, they've really fell on some tough times. That doesn't mean they can't come up and play a great game, because when you throw it 62 times, if you have 4 or 5 plays where a guy gets behind you or a guy makes a long run after a catch, boy, that can really change a game. Mm-hmm. And so we really want to try to keep their offense on the sidelines by running the ball, kind of the formula that we've worked most of the year in our win streak and most of the year prior to that. So hopefully we can keep them on the sidelines, but they are going to be a really good opponent. They've been nicked up a little bit, Tim. When you get there, you're going to see that there are a lot of freshmen starting in their offensive line. I think they have 3 that I saw in there 2 deep that they gave to us on Monday. So they've been nicked up a little bit. I really enjoy Coach Keller. He's one of my best friends in the league, and he's done a nice job out there. I always ask them about how tough it must be for them to travel all the time, the travel that they have to make. We only have to do it once a year, and we go to that place once every 2 years. And it's different, Tim. It's different in preparation. It's different in organization. It's different where you eat, all those kind of things. So that'll be something for us. So we'll have to be able to handle that part. And then, like I said last week, you look at a team that isn't doing very well, and you have a tendency not to think that they can't play a good game. Well, let me tell you now, they can play a good game, and they can score some points. And anytime a team can score some points, especially fast with their offense, you got to play hard now. You got to play hard and do things correctly. So it'll be a challenge for us, Tim. It really will be.
Yeah, 3 of those American Rivers Conference losses, to your point, have been by 1 score.
Yes.
Just 1 score.
Very
Simpson,
high-scoring games.
Luther and Loris.
Yes.
Yep.
And they played Central probably as good as anybody did. They really played Central very well for 3 quarters. Our game plan defensively, Tim, is to try to pressure them a little bit and try to have them put the ball up in some situations where we might be able to get some coverage sacks or some coverage interceptions. So it'll be hard and it'll be fun. I mean, I told all our guys, and you're playing Game 10, you got a chance for the championship. I don't know what else you can ask for. I mean, that's about as much when you prepare for a season, that if you can be playing a meaningful game on Game 10, that means something to your football team. Then I feel like you're feeling that you've done a pretty good job. So
the conference championship's still a possibility.
Yeah.
You need to win, and then Co needs to beat Central, and Loris beating Warbread, correct?
Yeah, it's hard for me to cheer for Loris, Tim. It really is. It's really, really hard for me to cheer for Loris, even though I'm going to have to. That sticks in my throat, my friend. But let me tell you now, all those things have to happen there. That's hard, isn't it, Tim? That's hard. But I told our guys 3 weeks ago, you just don't know what's going to happen. You just don't know. An injury, something goes wrong. Hey, I mean, there's a million things that can happen.
Loris played well against Simpson.
They sure did, and Loris has been on a good run since they've played us. Mm-hmm. And I think they've won 3 straight since they played us. In fact, I know they have. So you never know what happens. The only thing we can control, Tim, is go playing a good game against Nebraska Wesleyan. Then when we're done, turn on the dang radio and find out what the heck's happened with everybody else. And if it doesn't work out in our favor, it doesn't work out in our favor. But you can be 6-2 in the league and 7-3 overall. And although that's going to fall short of where we should be, Tim, in my opinion, and the Simpson game will haunt me this year for a long, long, long time. It's not going to interfere with Saturday's game. I'm telling you that, but it does. In my mind, I think about that game and replay that game a number of times in my mind. But, hey, here's what we can do. Can't do anything about Simpson. That's gone. We can do a heck of a lot about Nebraska Wesleyan on Saturday, and we're planning on playing our best game to date.
Coach, any final thoughts about the Wesleyan game coming up to finish out the season? We'll talk with you next week about our final UD football show, but thoughts on... It
would be a nice way to finish our season 6 in a row. That'd be the longest win streak in the conference, and that would be really nice. And again, I think what I mentioned earlier, we've finished strong every year that I've been here with the exception of one time out of 11 years. That's what we'd like to do. We want to get better as the season progresses. This is a way for us to get better on Saturday.
Coach, we'll see you with the sack lunch in hand.
Yeah, make sure you wear your sunglasses. It's going to be a bright, sunny day. Hot. Don't wear too many clothes.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll be prepared. And just in case that Central Plains snowstorm creeps up later this week.
Don't be talking that stuff.
That I've been predicting at the start of the season.
Don't be talking that stuff,
We'll bring
friend.
the snow shovel as
yes.
well. So we'll see you there in Lincoln on
Tim,
Saturday.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Coach
Thanks.
Stan Zwiefel, head football coach of the University of Dubuque, joining us tonight on the UD Football Show. And we'll come back and close out the program for this evening when we return on 101.1 The River. And we're back on the UD Football Show here on 101.1 The River. Just back to say goodbye for this Monday night and remind you about our University of Dubuque football broadcast on 101.1 The River. And we'll also have the link to the stream of the River's website. In case that's easier for you to find the broadcast on the University of Dubuque's website, they have that linked up so you can check there to find that broadcast link. And then next Monday night, we'll close out our UD football shows for the season with Coach Zwiefel right back here next Monday night at 6 o'clock. So thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks to Coach Zwiefel again for joining us, and thank you for listening. And, of course, our fine sponsors, University of Dubuque, the Heritage Center here at UD, and also Conlin Construction. So from the offices of the University of Dubuque football staff, I'm Tim Larry on 101.1 The River.